There are not a lot of people that I know that are more likely to be eating a full-on sandwich this early in the morning as you.
It's on a brioche bun. We had a plan for meatball sandwiches, and one of those things.
You're gonna eat a meatball sandwich this early?
It's a turkey cheese brioche bun situation. But the reason we have brioche buns is I don't know if Jeff Bezos is such a great businessman that his strategy for Whole Foods is to just not have stuff there.
Like what?
Like hot dog buns. We usually take she makes meatballs.
Hot dog buns?
She makes meatballs, and then we eat the spaghetti version of it, and then the next day there's a meatball sandwich era. There's an era of meatball sandwiches. Unfortunately, that moment where you're like, the meatball sandwich must be on the hot dog bun, or a bun that is a certain shape, and then you're like, you run it. There's no hot dog buns at Whole Foods because of some like global conspiracy. But then you realize, no, I made that rule up. You can put it on a hamburger bun. It's fine.
I guess that seems weird. The weird thing is that the meat, like putting, what would you put? 3? Would you put 4? Would you put Sprocket in the chat? What?
Sprocket's in the chat.
What?
Sprocket, I think, is a tier 3 emote.
Is it just on Twitch?
Yeah.
I requested it.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's not on Twitch.
Anyway, okay. Well, we'll talk about Sprocket more later. Okay.
Know that.
So, do you do 3 meatballs? Do you do 4? Wait, is that new French? What the hell?
Francesca looks like an angel.
Okay,
she looks like a Jesus candle.
She does look like a Jesus candle.
Oh, Jesus candle.
I need Hilo, and I want to go along with the Bernie one. I want a good AOC emote, and I'm saying this because we need to make it. They're taking everything.
An AOC emote. There's a Ben Dixon emote. Yeah,
I love the Ben Dixon one actually.
I have another. So
that is totally a Jesus candle. This Sprocket is perfect. I love it. It's exactly. That was what is that from yesterday when he held up Sprocket at the end of the show? I think it is. Probably. It's so good.
Sprocket was
so good. Anyway, the Bernie's great. What were we talking about? Oh, meatballs.
Meatball sandwiches.
Yeah.
We're dead. You've killed us. We're dead.
I mean, a hamburger is a big meatball that was flattened a bit. That's all a hamburger is.
It's a tiny loaf.
So
it's a slice of meatloaf on a sandwich, right?
That. How much worse does a slice of meatloaf on a sandwich sound than hamburger?
No, I love meatloaf, dude. Why don't we cook ketchup more often? Like we need to. There's a nice.
Oh, that's weird.
It just becomes a ketchup reduction.
I don't want to reduce it. I feel like I don't know how ketchup is made. I feel like it's been reduced as much as I'm comfortable with.
Lycopene. It's just vinegar and tomatoes. Hype train, John.
Okay.
What should I watch now? I'm in a weird. I've watched everything. I watched all the Marvel movies.
Thing. Well, did you watch WandaVision?
I need to catch. I found out today from a quasi spoiler on Twitter that the new episode's out.
Okay, good. Yeah, you watched the first 2?
Yeah,
I have 2. I like that old school sitcom humor. Actually,
she's way better.
She's the whole show.
What are you doing? What's this?
What? I don't know what she was doing. Vision is fine, but she is 98% of why the show is good so far.
Someone needs to tell Paul Bettany, keep your eyes in one location.
He's British, isn't he?
Yes, but he's looking around too much. I'm sure he's looking at cue cards. She is naturally amazing. It's in her blood, dude.
That's true. It's
Here comes a show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Friday of the new era. A Trump-less Friday, although not 100% out of the news, out of the White House, and that's a start. Brett Erlich joins us. as always. How's it going, Brett?
Yes, it is I, Brett Erlich, world's tallest human, world's most charismatic and dynamic Friday guest on the Damage Report, by a long shot.
Sure, you're a little bit out of focus, by the way. I just noticed that.
Yeah, well, that's just.
Oh no, what have you done?
I'm sorry, Skip, or whoever's directing this. Am I more in focus now, John? Is the world ready for that? I like the view. I like the view shoot in a soft focus, just because I don't think people are ready for it.
You want that Barbara Walters style for Brett? But anyway, glad to have you here. We got a lot planned for the day. Not only on this hour, we got tons of stuff. Don't even worry about it. But gonna be leading the first hour of the main show. We've got a full main show for you. And then there's also a bunch of stuff after that, Brett. What's going on the network today?
Oh my golly gee willikers, John. What we have at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time is a completely amazing common room on twitch.tv/TYT. I want everyone to unveil their Francesca Jesus candle emote, as well as their Sprocket emotes and their Ben Dixon emotes. They're Jordan Yule emotes, because the guests, here are who the guests are. Myself, John Iadarola, who you may have met, Adriana Vega, who you may have met, and Abelina Sabrina, whom you mayst have met.
This is peak Twitch on the common room. It's also on Twitch, but also everybody's up in it is Twitchy.
And this is peak.
Okay. Oh my God, there's so many emojis going on right now. Anyway, I am hearing that the audio is out of sync, so we're going to be. I don't know what it is. It's something, but I'm sure there's people who know what it is and are actually educated in this area that are working on it. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God, there's Brooke Unicorn Pepe hands as well.
I'm seeing too much right now. But anyway, thank you everybody for being here. We do have a great show planned for you. Please hit the like button and share the stream if you haven't already. That's actually my reminder to myself to send this draft tweet that I had open. But anyway, we're live and we're gonna be closing out this hour the way that we always do on Fridays, which is feeding our garbage can with the best quality political garbage of the week. I had a very hard time choosing, but I have a choice and I'm very curious who Brett is going to choose for that. But there's a lot of news to get to before that. And along the way, if you send us messages, super chats, tweets, things like that, we'll be reading these as we go. And with that, Brett, are you ready to do this thing?
Bless them.
Okay, let's do it.
Yes.
I know. It's apparently happening. The impeachment of Donald Trump already concluded in the House, is moving to the Senate very quickly. And here is Chuck Schumer to announce it.
I've spoken to Speaker Pelosi, who informed me that the articles will be delivered to the Senate on Monday.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's what he's doing. And he has a little bit more to say. And the thing is, like, they're talking about convicting Trump, okay? The final step on this impeachment, the end of his political career. The world is watching. History will eventually be watching. And he has a little bit of trouble with it.
But make no mistake, there will be a trial, and when that trial ends, senators will have to decide if they believe Donald John Trump incited the insurrection against the United States.
Okay, it's one thing to talk about him inciting an erection. It's another thing to start that sentence with "make no mistake." Dude, take your own advice.
Is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe?
You, sir, incited an erection.
I want to know, because it's so bad on every possible level. But the best part about it is not him saying responsible for this erection. It's his face right after. He's like, well, that happened. And then he goes right through it. It's amazing.
He's a professional. If he had whispered to himself, phrasing, would he be your favorite senator in the entire country?
His reading glasses make him my favorite senator. They look like he stole them from someone named Babs. He's got like these motley like fun ant reading glasses that are just down here. I don't know. They're in one of our booths.
Oh my God, yeah. It just like I know some people are saying, hey, you guys are talking about the conviction of the president. Why are you joking around? So it's just nice to feel good for a little bit. Things are gonna get dark. I don't know if it's tomorrow, if it's in a week, or if it's in 6 months, but yeah, things are gonna get dark. But for now, pretty funny. Now that said, aside from the Schumer stuff, it is apparently coming. They're going to be proceeding on this on Monday.
Jesus, it's about to be what? Yeah, exactly, John. It fast approaches.
It is approaching fast. We are on the edge of it, and we're only going to be on that edge for a few days, and then possible conviction in the Senate. So, Brett, we know that there's a chance that Mitch McConnell is going to try to stop it for as long as possible. But assuming it does actually happen, I wasn't really paying attention to what I was saying right there. I have been a pessimist, I guess, on the likelihood of it actually receiving enough votes. What do you think at this point, based on an additional week of seeing what the different Republican senators that are going to have to decide on this have been saying?
I genuinely have no idea. I think everyone's doing that look around where it's like a bumpy flight. Like you have a terrible flight and it's the worst turbulence of your life, and then you land and you were ready to like yell at air traffic control and everything, and then you look back and work, and let's say that there was like a giant mistake made by the pilot or something. This is a bad metaphor, but like there's a giant mistake. You have to ask yourself, am I just gonna get over it? Because it's easier for my mental state to just move on. And this is typically the calculus presented to us in the wake of a giant scandal involving a president. Can I just move on? Is it more healthy? This is the Nixon approach where, yeah, that was terrible, but the United States needs to move on and heal. The difference is in this situation, the president incited a riot that invaded the very room that they're going to be talking about it in.
Yep.
And that is one of those things that we absolutely need to hold them responsible for. And just like any political situation, they're gonna wanna not have to actually do anything that will be on their record that they'll need to be held responsible for. And we need to put that pressure on and keep that pressure on. And there's a couple factors that go into that. One, we need to remind them how heinous and terrible and anti-American this entire bloc is. And two, we need to tell people like Mitch McConnell that like they don't gotta be afraid anymore. That Trump is powerless now, but it's like we need to finish our antibiotic regimen because that's the only way to ensure that this terrible gonorrhea won't flare back up again.
Yeah. I know they're still scared though. I mean, he doesn't have real power, but they're worried about, in the same way that I don't know what the news is gonna look like, they don't know what Trump is gonna look like what the Trump movement is gonna look like in 6 months. So they're still scared. So like predictions at this point are probably worthless. I would assume that based on everything I've seen in the last few years, that this is not gonna result in Trump being convicted, because I have a hard time believing that many Republicans will actually flip. Like 17, maybe. We didn't even get this many Republicans in the House to impeach him. So I find it hard to believe. Doesn't mean it's not worth moving forward on. And it doesn't mean that we don't do the other productive things. That's what the Republicans are trying to say, like, oh, this is gonna slow down. You say you want to accomplish all this stuff, it's gonna slow stuff down. First of all, it wouldn't have to. Second of all, the Dems are in charge of the schedule now. So if it does slow things down, that's really on Chuck Schumer more than anyone else. So we're gonna have to see. It's gonna be proceeding over the next few weeks. I don't have particularly high hopes, but at least it's moving.
I will say that the Republicans, with something you can't forget, is the very real fact that the Republicans don't have good enough ideas to win in America without a really energized Trump base. What they have to do is find out if their if there are enough, they have to do all that math essentially to find out like if they can win literally anywhere. Now, what Ted Cruz is trying to do is to scoop up that populism, that economic populism from somewhere, and see if he can keep the MAGA base happy and be their guy. He just doesn't have, he's not a dynamic person. Josh Hawley's not a dynamic person, and Trump was a dynamic person. And you have like these Trump sycophants like Matt Gaetz who are out there trying to, advocate for a new party to start. Now the Tea Party was named a party and was folded in, and those people that I just mentioned are the direct results of it. Are they going to try to do something somewhat like that to make it to the next, iteration of the next evolution of the Republican Party? I just don't think. I just think they're in a real tough spot, and you just have to keep the pressure on Mitch McConnell to just say, listen, you're really old, you got what you wanted, and just flush it all out, flush it all down the toilet.
Okay, no more on that analogy.
It's like a poop analogy. I don't know if you got that.
Yeah, I did.
Because I did that last week.
Okay, so I remember. So we're going to move on to other news in just 1 second. Really fast, I did want to let you know that many of you watching this probably already follow the Damage Report on Instagram. But we are so close, right on the precipice of 10,000 followers. And that would be really awesome. So if you're not already following us and you want to see some behind the scenes stuff, we spotlight members of the community, their pets, have a lot of fun over there. So just search the Damage Report on Instagram and that'll be available. And with that, let's move to some.
If we get enough followers or whatever, I will show you what my cat looks like now. It's not alive, but there's a bag of ashes on my table that I can bring in. I don't know how it works. I definitely have FOMO with the pet thing, but I do have.
I do feel bad for you.
Bag of the Chaj's ashes, and I'm just trying to help.
I appreciate the help. Sorry about the cat. It's very sad.
It had a hairball that was too big.
Do you feel close to getting another cat? No. Okay. I know it made you horribly allergic.
Yeah. There's something about my respiratory system shutting down every day that.
My dog does that to me, but I've made my choice. That's just the life I lead now. I can't breathe.
Zyrtec.
I'll consider it. Okay, I don't know that we're gonna be able to go back to the news, but I'm gonna give it the old college try. Let's do it. Okay. In addition to the rapidly proceeding Senate trial for Donald Trump, there are others, both in the Senate and in the House, who were involved in inciting the violence that we saw on January 6th. And the push is in to try to have some consequences for those individuals. We're gonna start with the Senate, where Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been pushing for the resignation or the expulsion of Senators Cruz and Hawley. Here she is on Cuomo pushing for that.
However, hey, if they want to delay it, let's bring up a vote to expel Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley from the Senate.
You think they should be out?
If we've got time on our hands, then we should be actually bringing justice to the members of Congress and the members of the Senate who also help support this insurrection.
You think they should be out?
Let's not. They absolutely, if they don't resign, they should be expelled.
Zero chance they resign. Nobody resigns.
Then we should hold the vote. I know we have an ethics inquiry coming up in the House. If an investigation bears out that Representatives Mo Brooks or representatives, for example, other representatives that were there that day, were in fact collaborating with these insurrectionists that led to the deaths of 5 people, they have no place in the House of Representatives either.
What about just voting to decertify the election on the basis of polls or what they had heard may have happened?
Well, I think that there should be consequences for attempting to overturn our election.
Really fast, just a bit of a fact check there. I don't necessarily disagree with Cuomo that there's basically like 0% chance, but when he says nobody resigns, let's be clear, no Republican resigns really. That Dems resigned, Katie Hill resigned based on her issues. Al Franken resigned. Dems resign, Republicans don't. that is potentially more of a lesson for the Dems than for the Republicans. But I don't necessarily disagree that I don't see a world where Ted Cruz is like, you're right, I'm ashamed, and so I'm going to step down. Brett, do you think that that's possible, that Hawley would ever do that?
No, that'll never ever happen, ever. It's so weird, because if in my calculation, if the Democrats follow the example of the Republicans, they never lose anything ever again. Like, just go hard in the paint. One thing that Mitch McConnell, like, we had norms. We've had a lot of ridiculous norms. I've said this on your show before. Just because something isn't normal doesn't mean that it's bad. And just because something is normal doesn't mean that it's good. You can abolish certain norms. Either way, Mitch McConnell's calculus has been to look at the norms and see and ask himself, does this benefit me? And I'll keep the norms that benefit me and do away with the norms that don't. And so he has essentially, if you apply that strategy to where the Dems are right now, they would vote to have as many people vote to say, like, I'm sorry, you incited an insurrection. You are, I know there's a lot here, but you incited an insurrection and that's illegal. You are a traitor. You are a straight up traitor. And everyone that was affiliated with Trump, from Trump on down, that voted against the results of the election needs and essentially is very nakedly and transparently advocating for those insurrectionists to keep on keeping on. Those folks need to be out. There's no place for them. They're advocating for something that's not America, and they need to go. And politically, I think it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for people. And if the Democrats, the last point is, like, if Democrats do follow through on this strategy, the ends benefit them as well politically, because you will finally have a nation where we have policies that reflect the will of the people that live in it. Because when the Republicans use the filibuster and when they use all these like tricks, it's just to stop the will of the people from happening. That's how they use it. But when the Democrats move past that, you end up having the will of the people become policy, and that will be popular. And they just need to do it. They just need to do it. And whether they vote to expel Hawley or not, which they should do, if they do or don't, a lot of this, it's like I look through the news these days and I'm like, oh my God, it is a new era. Do I go back to like reading this whole article about how this terrible Republican is terrible and how this horrible QAnon person is horrible? Or do I just get the work done? Do I just say, listen, get rid of the filibuster, go pass relief now for people in the middle of a crisis. Go fix the healthcare system now for people who need it, because we're the worst at it.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
And as we've already been saying, and I'm sure we'll say 1,000 times between now and the election, or more than 1,000 times, there's no better way that they can guarantee that the midterm elections aren't the bloodbath they historically are than getting rid of the filibuster and actually doing something. The Republicans don't want them to do that. They want the filibuster because they don't want the government to function. They barely want it to function when Republicans are in charge of everything. They definitely don't want it to function when Dems are. The government already fulfilled its function. It gave the tax cuts to the rich people. They're good on government for quite a while. Anything else would benefit the poors, and so the Republicans don't want it to exist. The filibuster, there's a lot of ways that the government is ground to a halt, but the filibuster is probably the single biggest, and also the easiest to get rid of. So they certainly should do that.
And this is the Kairos. This is the right time. This is the moment when you can still say, hey, America, the Republicans are the ones who lied to you and told you that they don't care about democracy and whipped a bunch of psychos into a frenzy who killed a cop at the Capitol. These are still the same people. So while we still have those same people disgracing the halls of Congress, we're just gonna do our jobs. And that's what people are mad at anyway. The reason they vote against the party in power is because they never actually do anything that helps people.
Yeah. Well, it's not just Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley facing calls for resignation or expulsion. You also have at least one in the House that's receiving that. And it's coming from survivors of the Parkland school shooting, calling for Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, founding member of the Republican Q caucus, to be ousted from Congress after Facebook comments emerged of her supporting a conspiracy theory that the shooting that killed 17 people was a false flag to push gun control. David Hogg said, if you spread conspiracies about mass shootings, there should be no place for you in Congress. Cameron Kasky says she should be removed. She should be punished, but it's probably not going to happen. I probably agree about that. And this is coming from reporting that had been available a while back, but was brought up again recently, of a number of things that she has attempted to scrub from the internet, including 2 years ago, her responding to a comment about that shooting being a false flag with her yelling, "Exactly, Stacey." And in Marjorie Taylor Greene's defense, this makes it seem as if she is like targeted at that shooting and believes the conspiracy theory about it. But I would say that in her defense, based on what we found out about her, she believes every crazy thing that she reads on the internet. And so we can only hold her as responsible as we do for her beliefs about Muslims in government, or about Q and about Satanists and about Comet Pizza and the fact that she apparently still believes that 9/11 was an inside job. Whatever crazy thing the dumbest liars on the internet post on a forum, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to believe it. And that is the best defense of her that anyone can offer.
It's true. She's the worst. I want you to get to like her response to the people.
I will. Yeah. So following in a distinguished history of people like Bill O'Reilly and things like that saying this, when it was reported that she said these things that she said, she then said, communists bloggers like Media Matters for America run the same playbook of lies and smears on people they feel threatened by, produce fake news, spread it all around, then tag all fake news stories about their victim in all future stories. Guess what? Nobody cares about your BS except me tweeting about it.
Keep this up, because as a person who myself is in my own opinion, a notorious typo tweeter. So look at those first two words, communists, bloggers. The reason that there is an S on both of those words at the end is because she had one of those first, probably communist because it's capitalized. It was communists like MMFA. And then she was like, oh, I want to call them bloggers too. So she added bloggers later and forgot to make communist singularized. I just love having those moments where you picture Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has read and, as you said, believed all of the nonsense you can just scrape out of the bottom of the barrel, and just picture her being like, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. Communists like MMFA. Is that good? Read it again, read it again. No, I'm gonna call them communist bloggers. But they are people who do the thankless job of, or the horrible job of combing through everything anyone's ever said. And it's weird that she would be against that, because like the QAnon people pride themselves on being like, did you see the third letter from the end of the word in this thing over here from 1923 that is a harbinger from Q's grandfather? It's like, what? No. These people are doing the correct version of what you think you're doing to save the world. And they're just pointing out something that you said, which was that they get in such a feeding frenzy with just like gorging themselves on conspiracies. They forget things that are important to remember. That there are children who are getting shot at schools, dying, and being terrified at the result of it. And that same dynamic that they just that they want you to cast out, had made its way into the halls of Congress. There are people who invaded Congress and traumatized the people who worked there.
Yep.
Because they
we're actually gonna talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, the point I want to make about this is, first of all, your image of her like tweeting or whatever, like let's bear in mind that is the only thing that she thinks she's there to do, and I would argue most of her constituents sent her there to do, is tweet about how Media Matters is communist. That is the highest aspiration of the Republican base. The only aspiration of the Republican leaders is tax cuts for the wealthy. But the base just call them communists. I want to see it. But what she's doing there is what, as I alluded to in the intro, this is not new. Bill O'Reilly attacked Media Matters for years because Media Matters does fake news. And the way they do fake news is they quote you. Literally, they do some great summaries of like news coverage of things, and they do reports, and they do some great work. And we have like Parker Malloy on all the time from there for that. The vast majority of what Media Matters does and has done for as long as it's existed is tell you what these psychos are saying. And I don't mean like I would, like when I cover this, or like in an op-ed. I mean, you click on the link and it's a clip from Sean Hannity with the transcript. That's it. There's no opinion, there's no anything. Whatever is fake in that is the person being quoted. And when we just show you calling it a false flag, that is fake news in that it wasn't a false flag, notably. But all we're doing is showing people who you are. That's all that Media Matters is doing. And the question should be, do you actually believe that? Do you believe that all of these parents are lying about their dead kids? What else do you believe was a false flag? Was Sandy Hook real? What do you believe about 9/11? What crazy things are still rattling around in that empty bone jar you've got atop your neck? That's what we need to know. But nobody's really asking her those questions, and I get it. I wouldn't want to talk to her in person either, but she is still a congresswoman. She has as much individual power as any other member of the Republican caucus in the House. These are important questions going forward.
It's so ridiculous. And the last little bit is, there are things they say when they don't have anything to say. And those things are fake news, false flag, socialist, and communist. That just means they don't have an answer. Like yesterday, Mitch McConnell saying that wanting to make voting easier is socialist.
I don't even know what that means.
That just means you don't have an argument. That did not apply. That was not germane, but you think you can say it and people go, rah, because you've conditioned them to do that. But even now, I've got to assume that there's people, we see like the QAnon shaman being like, oh, I was lied to by Trump. And Proud Boy saying he's a failure and he didn't follow through on his promises to me. All of their homeboys are leaving them, or their roll boys are like, they've got flat tires on the side of the road, just being like, oh, that sucks. He slashed my tires. Like that's where it's at. And you've got to assume that when Mitch McConnell says socialist, even his once ardent supporters are looking at him going like, man, this whole thing's been a mistake. Thanks for the Supreme Court justice and the tax cut, but this is a really scary, depressing, sad, demoralizing, anti-American time to be a Republican.
Yeah. Now let's turn. You alluded to the continued danger, so let's go back to that because we have a little bit more from that Cuomo appearance. AOC was on with Cuomo talking about the recent incidents where members of Congress are trying to bring guns onto the floor of Congress and the potential threat that poses. So Cuomo wants to ask her how serious she is about this. And I have to imagine, as you're gonna see, that there was probably a better way to word it.
You really think that colleagues of yours in Congress may do you dirty?
You could have said anything. I know that that's like his thing or whatever, but you could have said it any other way. Very fast, what's your comment? And then we'll go to
the very fast comment is like, when I first started watching Cuomo, I was like, I feel like the guy's gonna open his jacket and try to sell me a hairdryer. And that is him. Does your hair do you dirty? Here you go, I got a hair dry. Like that's,
and by the way, Cuomo, it's all in good fun. Cuomo is literally the only person on the network who so far cares enough about progressives to bring them on. So we're just joshing him, man.
100%.
I'm from the East Coast too, buddy.
It's just, I'm not from New York. Like the family's from, East Side or something. I don't remember, but like it's just so like, hey, what you gonna do? Hey, we're just buds here.
It's just funny. Anyway, but it is a serious topic, and so here is Representative Ocasio-Cortez's response.
Yeah, well, one just tried to bring a gun on the floor of the House today. I believe it was Representative Andy Harris of Maryland. He tried to bring in a gun onto the House floor. For individuals who don't know, guns are not allowed in the District of Columbia, and certainly the House floor is there are separate House rules that prohibit the bringing in of firearms. Now, these are rules that date back to the Civil War, and these are individuals that are trying to sneak firearms either illegally or in direct violation of House rules. Why does a member of Congress need to sneak a gun onto the House floor?
Do you think they're bringing it in there because they want to protect all of you from, insurrectionists like we saw a couple of weeks ago? Or do you think there really is a chance that you may be the enemy?
Well, here's what I'll say. The moment you bring a gun onto the House floor in violation of rules, you put everyone around you in danger. It is irresponsible.
And that is totally true. Even if we assume, as we probably can, that they're not intending to use it on other members of the Congress. How often do people just leave their guns out or just accidentally shoot themselves in the leg and stuff like that? And bear in mind, the Republican caucus is increasingly the exact sort of person that's in those stories where they end up shooting their penis off. Like that's who they're electing to Republican Congress. So let's just be clear about that.
The Plaxicos built up in Congress. She also said like, that he tried to give it to someone who wasn't licensed. That's what happened. He's like, here's my gun. Here, take it, random person. That's insane. It's that moment where you feel like you're taking crazy pills, where they think they're doing this thing. And I totally understand it. There's this built-in elite. I guess the hypocrisy is when Republicans try to have it both ways. They try to say that this is a sacred house of Congress, but then they also bring their insane, weird flexes from like right-wing blogs into the House. And at the same time, they think that they're defending the Second Amendment and they're trying to be cool. He just was trying to be cool and signal to his base that he's a badass by bringing a gun into the Congress. Where like if there's, and then at the same time, when you decry white supremacy in the House of Representatives, you get booed by those same people.
Yep.
What's wrong with them? We all know what's wrong with them. We've seen the what's wrong with them play out for 4 years, and it's over. So we just need to walk the walk at this point, because all they do is talk, stupid talk. And every time they try to walk the walk of Philly with that talk, a cop gets killed in the Capitol building.
Good point. Okay, I'm gonna read a few comments from the audience before we move on to other matters. First, again, reminder, almost at that Instagram mark. So if you're not already following us, maybe do that, it's fun. Also, by the way, we're on TikTok, which is rapidly blowing up. I guess that's what TikTok does. I kind of have a feeling that the TikTok followers are probably gonna pass the Instagram followers relatively soon, but we'll see about that. Anyway, we're having fun with it. Here's a super chat for you. The first from AT, who says, "We are Legion. Glad I could help out a random squad member." They were referring to Eyes Dragon from across the country. Don't worry about the shipping, just pay it forward. So I don't know the exact nature of that, but sounds like delightful interaction between members of the community. So thank you for that. Steph Scott Draws, aka Phoenix Dragon, says, "It's a Friday of the new era. Hello, Brett and John. Hello to you."
Hi, I'm eating a sandwich. Good morning.
Sedana says, "Hey, my Friday bliss. Bernie was on Seth and he confirmed he has seen the memes. I fell deeper in love with him with every single one. I've seen some good ones. Like, I don't know if you saw the prancing pony one. Like they're doing video ones. It's pretty amazing work." Let's see. Billy Bifocal says, "You need to lose Trump on the intro. Also, you should update the end clip of your YouTube videos. John, you're better than this." But am I? Because we know both of those things and we've been like working on it, but like there's just so much stuff that needs to get done, but it's gonna happen.
The TYT main show intro says 2019 on it because we've been so demoralized and freaked out for a year. But don't worry, we're making a new intro for the Young Turks.
We are? So really fast,
this
is kind of an own of me. But back when we last made the new intro for TYT, and the new intro for TYT, the new one, the one we're using right now is awesome. But I asked, and I almost never asked for anything, but I was like, "Hey, so like I've been hosting this show for like 5 years. Could I be in it?" And like that's me making a big deal out of it. And so I got put into it as one of the photos, like everyone else. That's not what I did.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens with this one.
Not a good look on you. This is not a good look on you.
I told you, it's me owning myself.
It's weird because
anyway,
because it did start out quite humble, and that is how John likes. stands up.
I want to be in it. Hey, I take a lot of pride in my work on it.
Can we maybe have me in the show that I'm usually on? And that's like John. That's like the equivalent of like when I look at John, I'm like, how mad is he? Because none of his actions indicate it. I'm gonna have to read real deep into this. And then I go too hard in the paint on your behalf.
That's true.
And then you go like, Brett, I just brought it up just to have a conversation. And I have like blood on my face and like arms of people that I've pulled off, being like, what? I just fought for you. And you're like, no, I had a headache that day.
Basically. Anyway, Rialan says, John, don't badmouth Cuomo. Cenk is gonna catch you on his Roku again. It's still one of my favorite ads that we've ever done. Sedona Susan says, tomorrow's my birthday, so I'm sending you this super chat as a present to myself. I hope you're not tired of hearing this, but you, John, truly helped me get through one of the worst years ever. Love. Thank you, Sedona Susan, and happy pre-birthday to you. Let's see. Sierra Lee says, happy Friday. Not sure how the dragon name started, but may I have Seabreeze Dragon? You may.
What's it a Seabreeze?
Seabreeze is.
Might do that next week.
Gin and like, I don't know. It's something like that. I think it's got cranberry juice in it. I think it's
it would be better with gin, I think, but it's vodka, grape juice, cranberry.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Ty Strong says, thank you, Brett. Go hard in the paint. Right now, 2 years isn't that long. And that circus now came for Fran, stayed for Brett and JR, realized someone had to carry it. John, you were awesome. Well, thank you.
It's grapefruit juice. I think they said grape juice. That is a really nice comment.
It's grapefruit juice, yes.
It's grape juice. You just put grape juice at sweet berry wine.
Exactly. Franklin Sharpslicer says, my cat's ashes sit upon my shelf next to mom and dad and a picture of an elf. Why I have them there, I'm still working out. Am I crazy? I think we just worked that out. Ha. So you're not the only one, Brett, but thank you.
Thank you.
And Rob Shively says, maybe Brett should be troll dragon with the way he likes to talk about Dookie and other assorted poopy, stinky butt stuffs. That was all in the super chat. I didn't add anything. Thank you, Rob.
Hashtag
now, exactly. Now, over at Twitch, the Bugger 2000 resubscribed for the third month and says, John, thanks for being a voice of reason and keeping me sane. Love you, man. Can you schedule the pre-shows to make it easier to catch them? No. Yeah, actually, it says scheduled. The fact that it happens every day is a miracle, and it happens 9-10, give or take 5 minutes or so. But that's as close as I can get it. Remember, I finish. We do all our production, then I run off, and while I'm doing that, Marissa and Sophie continue doing all the work. But it's just I'm doing what I can. Realistic resubscribe for the second month. Thank you for that. Looking forward to the garbage people, it looks like. And Leanne resubscribed for the second month as well. Thank you. And with that, let's jump back to the news. Dr. Fauci is still around. One of the only carryovers from the Trump administration, one of the only people who haven't completely exploded their reputation as a result of being in the Trump administration. And now he's free to tell us a little bit about what he actually thinks. So we've got a couple videos of him giving us an idea of what's gonna be happening with the COVID plan that's being rolled out. But here he is first.
But it was very clear that there were things that were said, be it regarding things like hydroxychloroquine and other things like that, that really was uncomfortable because they were not based on scientific fact. I can tell you, I take no pleasure at all in being in a situation of contradicting the president. So it was really something that you didn't feel that you could actually say something and there wouldn't be any repercussions about it. The idea that you can get up here and talk about what you know, what the evidence, what the science is, and no, that's it. Let the science speak. It is somewhat of a liberating feeling.
I bet it is. And so look, having him around is good because he has a lot of experience in this area and the American people actually trust him. Against all odds, it's a miracle being a part of that response, but actually being trusted. So I'm glad that he feels freed up to even there to more directly criticize some of the things that were stressed about hydroxychloroquine and all of that. It's good to see.
Just to look back and reflect on the period where that same podium saw Trump standing there instead of Fauci. Fauci and Birx against the side wall, demoralized as Trump said, at a time when we were just finding out about this crisis, but he had ostensibly and undeniably access to more information than us, which he did not ever use, said, let's look into injecting bleach into people's bodies and let's use light on people. And the hubris of a sociopath like that, to think that A, it came off well, and B, that he actually convinced people that what he said was not in earnest later, when he found out only after the blowback that it was a dumb thing to say. Like, and now we're at a time, and it feels like the chimpanzees who get let out of the windowless room after living there for their entire lives. Like, it's just the sun, it's just outside. But I'm looking around and seeing Dr. Fauci, the nation's foremost epidemiologist, be able to say, I get to use the things I've learned and say them to people in earnest.
Yeah, that he gets to actually say what he believes, and if a member of the administration says something insane, he in theory gets to say that. Maybe we'll have a test of that. I have a feeling that Joe Biden is probably not going to talk about injecting stuff, but maybe we'll see. But anyway, I want to get to a bit more of Dr. Fauci, so let's move on with the next video.
Dr. Fauci, you're one of the few holdovers from the previous administration, this current one. What has been your experience with this new team? And in your view, what would have been different in terms of the trajectory of this outbreak from the start had a team like this been in place at the beginning?
Well, I can tell you my impression of what's going on right now. The team, I don't know if I can extrapolate other things, but one of the things that was very clear as recently as about 15 minutes ago, when I was with the president, is that one of the things that we're going to do is to be completely transparent, open, and honest. If things go wrong, not point fingers, but to correct them, and to make everything we do be based on science and evidence. I mean, that was literally a conversation I had 15 minutes ago with the president, and he has said that multiple times.
That you, looking back on your comments over the last 10 or 12 months, would like to now, with that sort of license, to amend or clarify?
No, I mean, I always said everything on the base. That's why I got in trouble sometimes. Right?
Yeah. And somehow didn't get fired. That was one of the most amazing things of that last period. But yeah, no, this is one of the things that I think like America needs. It is going to be a big relief to have a person that you feel like you have a good reason to trust tell you we're going to be basing the response on science. And we now know what the cost of not doing that is. And the only, like the big tragedy is that every week you could have started this earlier, every month you could have started this earlier, could have potentially saved tens of thousands of lives.
And what we're getting into is a period where we're gonna prove that we were right about a lot of stuff, right? Like we were correct about it. That you couldn't, all the things that Trump and his cronies were warning us would happen if they were out of office are gonna prove to be false. And all the stuff that we were warning you about a Biden presidency is probably gonna bear out. But a lot of the stuff that we said would probably be better than a Trump presidency is also gonna bear out. And this is one of the, a lot of it already immediately has. And all those things that people said a Trump presidency isn't gonna be that bad and we're wrong about, we're proving we were right and they were freaking wrong. They were absolutely, positively, without a doubt, empirically, provably wrong. So stop listening to those J-holes. I don't know what J stands for. I was gonna say jagoffs, but those J-holes, and start listening to us.
Yes.
Oh, I do know what the J
I think I know damn well.
I think I now know what the J stands for.
Anyway, I don't. Oh, it's Friday, okay, and it's a good day. Anyway, so with Dr. Fauci briefing the nation on what's going on, when is this thing going to be resolved? Do we have any information about that? Here he is talking about when we might be able to go back to something approaching a normal country.
Best case scenario for me is that we'd get 85% of the people vaccinated by the end of the summer. If we do, Then by the time we get to the fall, I think we can approach a degree of normality.
Okay, so look, the fact that he believes that we will have any time where we will have normality is a positive thing, because it really does feel like this year has been disastrous in so many ways, but one of them is just continually having to push back the date that things might seem normal. I've done that 30 times, basically. The fact that it might be in the fall, that hits pretty hard, Brett, that we might still have months and months of this situation, ever increasingly good. Like every million people you get vaccinated is a million less people that for the most part you don't need to worry as much about, but that's still a long way away.
It's everything that's become normal to me is so strange. And I think that just from a logistical standpoint, me being in the office is more difficult to do my job than me being at home.
You gotta come back eventually. I need people here.
No,
someday.
No, no. But yeah, I mean, it's so crazy to fathom. Alexa, how many days has it been since March 20th, 2020?
Guessing 300 or so.
307 days ago. It's been 307 days since this has happened. And it feels like 3003 at the same time. So I don't know. I mean, the only takeaway from an extended, an ever distancing deadline for, live line for coming back online, is that the only thing to take away from that is like, we need to pass a relief bill immediately, period, and get that relief to people. Because while you do think that if a deadline extends, you have more time to do stuff, no, that's more time when people are suffering, and you need to give them that lifeline now.
Yeah. Okay. Oh God, I'm worried about what we're gonna be able to get to. There's so much that I want to get to. We're gonna do this really fast, just because people need to know this stuff. Yesterday on TDR, we covered the first day of executive orders and actions from the Biden administration and gave him a lot of credit for a number of different things that were done in the areas of climate change and the response to COVID, immigration and other areas. We have a little bit more, we wanna update that. So one of the big ones that I was calling for what feels like a couple of months now is the invocation of the Defense Production Act for vaccines, testing, and PPE. So this is a thing that Trump could have done. He could have done in the run up to the vaccines being available to make sure that the supply chain was there. He chose not to do this. That's why we have run out of our stock of vaccines, at least temporarily. And that is one of the best things the government can do to make sure that we vaccinate as many people as possible. So they are going to be doing that. This is a thing that the president can do on his own. And it's a good sign from the Biden administration about how serious they're taking this, that they have invoked that so quickly after inauguration.
I mean, this is the benefit of having a federal government, is the ability to do this. And I just have faith that they'll give it back. Like everybody, they'll say, yes, here is a steady source of income and a life-saving tactical change. And I don't think anyone can disagree with that. So let's just do it. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's make it happen.
I'm curious to see. This is the sort of thing that, in theory, I could see Fox rallying the American people against, implying that we shouldn't do this. I'm sure that they're already freaking out about the mask mandates on federal property. I think he is instituting, or has already instituted, a requirement for masks on planes, because apparently that wasn't a thing this entire time. People were just flying in a big recirculated air box in a pandemic. But good to see. Should have been done months ago. So many lives in theory could have been saved if Trump had taken the pandemic seriously. Nobody expects that. But in any particular case where he could have sort of taken it seriously, many lives could have been saved. But in addition to that, other changes that were made since yesterday's edition of the show, increasing benefits for food stamp beneficiaries by 15%, expanding access to the supplemental nutrition program and increasing the benefits of that as well. These are important, especially considering that both the public health and the economic aspects of this crisis have affected those at the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder far more than those at the top. Obviously, they need those benefits. He's also directing the Treasury to speed up delivery of direct payments. I would like to see that comboed with recurring payments, but that's something. Protecting benefits if workers reject COVID risk jobs. So if you are unemployed and you have the possibility of taking a job, I believe it's just federal workers, that would expose you potentially to COVID or increase the risk of you getting it, and you turn that down, you could lose your federal benefits. This is a protection so that you are not put in a position where you have to choose between money and the safety of yourself and your family. As well as restoring collective bargaining protections for federal employees that were stripped away under the Trump administration.
Insanity that was stripped away.
Yep.
Here's my justification for the protect benefits if worker rejects COVID risk job. Yes, because when you do, they always ask you, are you looking for employment? Do you have proof that you've searched for employment? And then built into that is like, we want to make sure that you're not just like sucking at the government teeth. I just want to say that for everyone that's talking about basically warning us against this concept that the American worker is now taking advantage of a system. No. The system has taken advantage of the American worker. And you don't need to understand anything beyond this one little fact. The blue collar workers in America have become more productive and basically more efficient, and their companies have gotten more out of their work over the last half of a century, but not really gotten compensated accordingly. So really the system does owe them and has owed them and has gotten away with owning them for a very, very, very long time. And in the one single year period when those workers are like, I actually need you to pay me at least the interest on the loan I've given you.
Yeah.
Anyone who drags their feet is a disingenuous, evil J-hole.
I was wondering where that was going to cap out. I'll take it, and I agree. Now that said, let's just read a couple quick super chats, and then we're going to move on to one more bit of news before we fill up this trash can here. We did have another super chat from Franklin Sharp Slicer, who says, I think it's Quaalude Anonymous, have no song to sing. They thought their Q would render them a king. I'll be there with you every step, he say. Golly, gee whiz, he just ran away. Do well today.
That's great. That's a good one. That might be the best yet.
I don't know.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Bernie Harddragon says, survivors of abuse can heal and heal better when their perpetrators are held to account and can no longer abuse. That's a great point. That is a very good point. Okay, Tracy Nelson says, good morning, John and Brett. Love you guys. You make me giggle. Can I be Molly Wobble Dragon? You may.
I don't know. A lot of people have been asking to be Molly Wobble Dragon. So we'll have to check.
We're gonna have a Dragon Royale on that. Bernie the Kiwi Bird says, hi guys. Bernie, just Bernie. Enough said. Can we get squad emoticons too? Working on it.
Jeez, guys, stop asking for stuff.
We're gonna look for it.
Freaking these communists are all looking for a handout.
Oh my God. Thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. What if we added a Marjorie Taylor Greene one just to frustrate people? Like, you don't have to use it, but it being there would bother me.
We make her face green.
Derpy Dino says, Tony looks like he just said Potter has given him a sock. Oh my God.
It's
Marissa,
crazy.
Did you hear what I just said? So you don't know, but Marissa, you produced the Fauci block, right? Yeah, she named that block Fauci is a free doctor. And
here, I wonder if I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it. Hang on, I can show it. Watch out.
Show it.
Yeah. Do you see it? Hang on, no. Give it a second. Let it happen.
How Derpy Dino is clued into our workflow here. I love it, Brett. Thank you. Okay, and finally, Mariana Amaris Pumarejo says, hey John, can I get a birthday shout out for tomorrow? You may. Happy birthday, Mariana, and thank you for watching. Okay, let's see. Over on Twitch, Sauce240 resubscribed for the 8th month and says, love you, Dragon Squad. Love you too, Sauce, thank you. Insomnia Noir says, I love when Brett gets angry. I need more Brett. I have a fever, and the only cure is more Erlich. It's funny. Let's see. Carbon says, this insurrection is brought to you by Dr. Jones boner pills. Jesus. The funny thing is, many of the people who had been advocating for that event sell things like that. So
Dr. Jones, AKA Indiana Bones. In hashtag Temple of Doomy.
Over on Twitter at hashtag TDR Live for a more perfect
Last crusade.
Where are you getting this?
Just coming up with it.
Oh my God. Anyway, for a more perfect America says, is Brett the tallest TYT employee?
Yeah, obviously. I'm the tallest human. How can I not be the tallest person? I'm the tallest human. TYT employee? Probably Brandon. Might be Brandon.
It might be Brandon. Well, was it Greg at one point? There was a guy who worked on tech
Greg.
was very tall.
There's Fury.
Oh, you're talking about other Greg. Yes. Well, but Greg is tall too.
Yeah, both Gregs.
Anyway. Steve O, tallest. He's 6'7". Most people don't know that, actually. And with that, okay, we're gonna very quick. We're gonna do it. I don't want Sophie to be mad. Okay, we're gonna very quickly do this. Brett,
yeah,
be good.
Do it. Stop it.
Okay, let's do this. Last night, many were shocked to see images of the many National Guard troops who protected the Capitol during the inauguration and in the run-up to it, sleeping in a parking lot, a parking building. Let's take a look at this. That is not like as bad as seeing the soldiers in the Capitol to begin with, seeing them then being seemingly ignored, if not cast aside there. So one unit, which has been resting in the Dirksen Senate office building, was abruptly told to vacate the facility on Thursday, according to one guardsman. The group was forced to rest in a nearby parking garage without internet reception, with just one electrical outlet and one bathroom with 2 stalls for 5,000 troops in an open area that will hit the low 40s at nights. So 2 stalls for 5,000 troops. That is. And it's a pandemic, by the way, and apparently at least 100 guardsmen have tested positive for COVID-19. I don't know if it's those guardsmen in particular or those who were on the detail, but I don't know how any of this was allowed. How there was no, well, as many have noted online, the fact that our political leaders had no exit strategy isn't gonna be a surprise to a lot of people necessarily, but we would have hoped we would have learned something over the past few decades.
And the reason they're there, the reason they originally had to come into the Capitol building, it's horrifying. It is traumatizing. And I know that when we did this on the Young Turks, but not this story, but the original story about the guardsmen having to sleep on the floor of the Capitol, there was someone who said that I forget what specific way they were in military service or National Guard or whatever. They said that they've had to sleep a lot of different places, looking up at the sky in scary lands or whatever, but could not imagine what it must be like to have to sleep on the floor of the Capitol building and open your eyes and say, this is where I'm at. And this is where we're at as a country now. This is the closest that we have come in a very long time to that Handmaid's Tale scene where everything suddenly goes terrible, beyond the point of no return. And they were there to help protect us from that in a very provable way, in a very obvious way. And add to that all the other layers of that where we were worried about whether they were having to do like more scrutiny to find out whether the people in the National Guard had fallen prey to the cynical forces of QAnon harnessing politicians. Having that extra, like almost like a level of paranoia that set in made it worse. And then as you'll point out later, the people who took advantage, who are still pretending to be blameless from that and try to score political points off it, make you want to throw up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I remember seeing that about the looking up and realizing the building you have to protect isn't, in the green zone of, Baghdad, but in the green zone of DC. And I know a lot of people are acknowledging like soldiers are used to this, they can sleep in a lot of places, sure, and they shouldn't have to. They're used to getting shot at, that shouldn't happen here either. And like, The fact that there was no prep for this, we spend so much money. Yeah,
it's the National Guard. It's people who there's like a specific like vein of the military that is there's National Guard. It's just people from around there who want to help out.
Exactly. Now, thankfully, there was some pressure put on the military and our political leaders to do something about this, including from some good elected leaders. I want to spotlight a few. One is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who responded to it saying, "Yeah, this is not okay. My office is free this week to any service members who'd like to use it for a break or take a nap on the couch. We'll stock you up on snacks for all of you too. We're in the middle of moving offices and it's a bit messy, so don't judge, but make yourself at home." Obviously, that's not a lot of space for them, but she's offering what she can. Tammy Duckworth, who's a vet, said, "Unreal. I can't believe that the same brave service members we've been asking to protect our Capitol and our Constitution these last 2 weeks would be unceremoniously ordered to vacate the building. I'm demanding answers ASAP. They can use my office." Mondare Jones said in response to Kevin McCarthy, sort of saying this is all about Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Schumer, who, sure, maybe they were part of this as well, but he's pretending as if he doesn't understand any of the context. Mondare Jones says, "Kevin, American troops are in the Capitol because you, along with 138 members of your caucus, helped to incite the violent insurrection of January 6th, which is an important bit of context that I think we shouldn't forget here. Now, thankfully, because of the popular outcry and the fact that some good leaders in elected office made a big deal out of this, they have now been allowed back into the Capitol as of last night, hours after they were forced to vacate. So there was a quick response. It was quickly resolved. We will see what happens. I don't know at this point how long they're expected to be staying in the Capitol. I would imagine not much longer, certainly not at the numbers they're at right now. But this sort of thing can't be allowed to happen again.
Yeah, it is. And just that Kevin McCarthy thing was what I was talking about earlier, where people are trying to score political points. And it's just this, it's that feeling that we all have to have, where we look at Kevin McCarthy and say, you don't get to talk anymore. Your talk almost led to the downfall of American democracy in a very real way. You don't get to do stuff like that anymore. Why? Because the stuff you were warning us about is fake. When you say socialism, communism, all that stuff, that's fake. All the stuff we're talking about, that we're concerned about, is real. People not being able to feed their families, people not knowing if they're gonna have a job literally ever again because of the way, the way that the economy and the jobs market is tangibly changing after this. They don't know if the skills that they have are ever going to be applicable again. And you're like, you're making people sleep in a parking lot. Why? When you know the answer. The thing you're warning us against is fake. The answer is you. The answer is you and everybody that you whipped into a bloodthirsty frenzy for nothing, literally nothing, for a pedophile ring in a pizza parlor that didn't exist, didn't have a basement to exist in. You're done. Totally. You're absolutely done. I used to do a segment on the old Current show that's called "You're Done." Like I feel like the coach who's just watched someone like lose the game for the entire team. You don't get to play. You're sitting on the bench. You're done.
We need to bring that back, Brett.
You're done. So stupid.
Anyway, yes. Okay. Well, I'm gonna give the directors a minute to get ready and get prepped for the traditional way that we close out the weeks. I'm gonna read just a couple of super chats.
I think you should look Richard at the Twitch for Congress. Really quickly. You need to look at the.
Oh no, I did see it, and I see that my dog Hilo is now an emote, and I want to know who made this. I'm assuming Brett didn't make that during the show, so I don't know who. I'm the last to find out everything, but I love it. I love it. There's so many dogs on the show now. Anyway, okay, so Richard Rowe for Congress says, as soon as you said push back the date, I assumed it would be followed by the release of Black Widow. Yeah, and I saw that the Bond movie is being pushed back till October.
I thought about rewatching all those. I watched all the Craig ones up until Spectre, but you got to pay for it. It's not on every streaming services.
I've watched some recently. I just release it, you bastards. Release it for an extra fee, whatever. They could do that on Disney Plus. $30 to get Black Widow. You'll make a ton of money, you bastards.
I feel like we're old enough. I don't even know what this plot's gonna be, but because I don't read it, but I'm curious. I feel like you're old enough like me to, you're younger than me, but to remember the last time this happened to a Bond franchise, like the doldrums of the MGM United Artists problems, where it was
that was before I really cared, honestly. Like I would follow the Brosnan ones, but I wasn't seeing them in theaters or anything like that. Like, dude, Craig is my Bond.
My childhood is my cousin Chris boy sitting me and my brother, getting some Round Table pizza, Reese's peanut butter cups, and Coca-Colas, putting a blanket down in the living room and watching a Bond movie. Like that's how I grew up, man. And so it's books and books of lore and stuff. I've read some of them, but yeah,
I've read some of the books too, actually.
Real
some
pervy,
shocking racism and misogyny in some of those early ones.
So
it's
why I stopped, to be honest.
Actually, but they're good. They're good though. And really fast, let's see. Bob Power says, do you think there will be an updated summary or release of the Mueller report? No,
I don't think so.
No, I don't think there will. There could be, but no, I don't think so. And finally, Shelby Holton says, hey, John and Brett, love Fridays. Wondering if Dancing Dragon has been spoken for. If so, I'd take Bad Dragon. Thanks for being the happy part of my day. I like Bad Dragon, actually. I think that's good. We have 2 votes for Bad Dragon for you. In any event, Brett, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Okay, I will intro this and then we'll have it. Okay. It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. This is a less trashy week in some ways than some we've had over the past 4 years. We've got a new administration, we've got Biden in, and yet that doesn't mean that there isn't garbage. And so we got to feed our old buddy, Brett. Who is your garbage person of the week?
My garbage person of the week. I am going to double down as garbage person of the week. It is Marjorie Taylor Brian Austin Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, as we said earlier in the broadcast today, scrapes the bottom of the barrel for the dumbest, most ridiculous conspiracy theories, has followed through on essentially a stupid dare from Tucker Carlson and has already filed articles of impeachment against Biden. Here is her announcement video.
Just filed articles of impeachment on President Joe Biden. We'll see how this goes.
We'll see. I got a feeling. I know how it's gonna go. You don't got any votes, my friend.
Wait, can I bet every cent I've ever had on how it's gonna go, actually?
I got a feeling that tonight's gonna be a bad night. Can we just show where this video, like an image from this video? Where are you? Like Marjorie Taylor Greene,
the Coliseum.
No. I have a feeling that Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking deep state a little too seriously. These are like the troll hole steam tunnels. I feel like she's looking for extra scrap and rust, like under the airstrip. There is just it is horrifying. Like, lady.
I think in addition to Bond being delayed, the upcoming horror movie, The Woman in the Walls, has been delayed. Yeah,
it's just like, we'll see. I always love that. We'll see how this goes. I have no clue. Honestly, I don't know how it works. And I feel you just file them. It was weird. I was expecting you just open a drawer and put them in the file. I did that and nothing happened.
But Brett, you might be onto something, because I've been trying to get the actual text of it and it ain't on congress.gov. Like, and there's an entry for it. She did file something, but they don't have the text. It says they're awaiting it. I don't know that she's actually turned it in.
She's stupid.
But anyway, it's so stupid. And by the way, so as I was looking at that, I saw other bills that have been recently put forward. Did you know that like Lauren Boebert's been putting forward bills to ban the enforcement of mask wearing, banning re-entering the Paris Climate Accords, basically just like no to everything that Biden has done. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is more removed from what's actually going on than even that, because she wants to impeach Biden on day one with a minority in the House. For what reason? I don't know, whatever. The right wing wants me to do it, so I'm doing it.
Yes, it's that. There's a more to Marjorie Taylor Greene that makes her a garbage person. She has decided to target the evil options on an official congressional form. That is the biggest threat against society. She tweeted this: Nancy Pelosi and the House Dems passed rules erasing gender pronouns and family names, which is a denial of God's creation and is evil. Now Joe Biden is assigning a transgender pediatrician as Assistant Secretary of Health to oversee all matters of public health. So we'll stop right there for a second. Like, come on. She's like, erasing gender pronouns, which is a denial of God's creation. God, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. He did not create English pronouns. Pronouns are a construct of people to describe what they see. Okay?
Yep.
When we eliminated thou and thine, was that an assault on pronouns too? Like, it evolves. People's understanding of stuff evolves. You come up with new ways of commonly of linguistical norms, and this is one of those things as we become better and better at as effectively describing stuff in the world. Okay?
Yeah.
She then continues, I by no means judge others for their sexual choices and dearly love my friends who are gay. I love people but stand firmly in God's truth, which is this: whether you believe in him or not, God loves all of us and created us in his image, male and female. Keep this up, keep this up. If it's him, his image, where is God both male and female? Because if so, isn't he non-binary? You said his image, male and female, how does that work? I don't know.
It's very confusing, the whole thing, and it's just the beginning. Great garbage person. I remember that I was reminded we have a hard out, so I'm actually gonna have to jump into mine. But no, it's a totally good garbage person. For my garbage person of the week, mine is a different sort of garbage person than Brett's. Mine is gonna be Marco Rubio. It's a more sort of subtle, just annoying garbage person because he tweeted this: a radical leftist agenda in a divided country will not help unify our country. It will only confirm 75 million Americans' biggest fears about the new administration. So why is this my garbage person? Because like, oh, we're going back to this. Oh, that's one of the things we're going back to. People like Marco Rubio with their stupid whataboutism and their stupid fake concern for unity and bipartisanship and their stupid inability to round numbers. Because I got news for him, 74.223 doesn't round up to 75 million Americans in a sane world I want to live in. And it's way less, you'll notice, than Joe Biden's, his 81.283. Sorry, I'll just round up to 83 million. But it's just like, they won, we won, and actually won the popular vote. He's doing the things he campaigned on. And like, I'm sorry, but like telling people to wear masks isn't a radical leftist agenda, you know? Saying that like methane's gonna be regulated a little isn't a radical leftist agenda. I'm a leftist, I want it to be more radical. Ipso facto, it's not the thing you're saying it is. So, I don't know, it's just frustrating to go back to this and know that we're gonna have fake disingenuous people like Marco Rubio, again, pretending to be really like worried about decorum after he spent the last 4 years with his head in the sand.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. They never cared about minority rights before. Now that they're in the minority, all they talk about is minority rights. Up yours, Marco.
And pretending that the numbers are bigger than they are.
That's insane. That's insane. Especially when the operating premise for the Republican Party, since they got any semblance of any majority in any part of the federal government, was to say like, we're winners, sorry, you're losers, so we're not gonna listen to you at all. So sorry, we're your logic. By your logic, we should not listen to you.
Exactly. Yeah, and he is the sort of person that doesn't have the anti-democratic balls to overthrow America, but he would have been perfectly fine with it had it happened. If they had successfully wiped out a bunch of politicians and overthrown the results, little Marco Rubio would have been sitting there just being okay with it and occasionally tweeting out a Bible verse or two. That's what he would do. Because there's not one skin cell of leadership his entire body. He's just sort of like a kind of pathetic parasite on the Republican Party. And unfortunately, there's people in the media who treat him very seriously and pretend that he's a very serious person. And these are serious concerns about bipartisanship that he's talking about. Anyway, really fast, the little time we have left, I did want to let you know that the garbage person of the week for the community, we had in 5th place, Javanka for their bathroom story. Behind them, tied at the Capitol rioters and the pillow guy for both trying to overthrow the election. Here we have the Pelosi's laptop, which is just ridiculous that person got away with it. Josh Hawley in a close second for holding up Biden's nominees. Josh Hawley, enjoy it. It's the last time you'll ever come in second even. And then Trump is number 1. Oh, his last week as president, he gets number 1. I kind of like that, for being a sore loser till the very end and flying away and not going to the inauguration and been really quiet since then, actually. It's sort of peaceful up in here as a result of that. Anyway, that's the garbage people of the week. 28,000 voters voted on this one. So thank you to everybody who did that. Really do appreciate it. Brett, as always, thank you for being here on Fridays. Lots more to come from the network. I'm gonna be on the main show, and we've got Common Room coming up later with both me and Brett. So look forward to that. And until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.